Hello, miladies of inestimable value. The most dangerous woman is the one who doesn't need your approval to exist. You see, society has always had a blueprint for how women should behave. Soft-spoken, agreeable, and just rebellious enough to be entertaining, but not threatening. Enter the Sigma female, the woman who didn't just throw away the blueprint. She set it on fire and walked away without looking back. Here's a fact. Humans naturally fear what they can't control. And nothing is harder to control than a woman who answers to no one, follows her own rules, and makes people question everything they thought they knew about power, confidence, and femininity. Ever noticed how people react to a woman who refuses to fit into a box? Some try to challenge her, some try to undermine her, and others? They just stand there uncomfortable because deep down they know she sees through them. Make no mistake, a Sigma female is a walking disruption to weak egos, outdated traditions, and power-hungry manipulators. And that's exactly why she's viewed as a threat. Let's dive into the brutal truth. Number 1. They redefine femininity in a way that shatters expectations. Most people have a fixed idea of what a woman should be: soft, accommodating, and always careful not to intimidate others. Society has spent centuries molding femininity into something digestible, something that fits neatly within a set of expectations. Then comes the Sigma female, completely ignoring the script, and suddenly everyone is uncomfortable. She doesn't tone herself down to make others feel at ease. She doesn't shrink to fit into spaces that weren't built for her. She is strong without seeking permission, intelligent without asking for validation, and independent without making a show of it. And that shakes people to their core. The truth is, people don't just fear her strength, they fear what it represents. It forces them to ask difficult questions. Why do we expect women to be submissive? Why does a woman's confidence feel like a challenge? Why is independence seen as rebellion instead of a right? A Sigma female doesn't just break the mold. She makes people realize the mold itself was flawed from the start. She isn't interested in proving she can do everything a man can. She's too busy doing whatever she wants, with or without anyone's approval. And that's the real problem. Society doesn't mind strong women as long as they still play by the rules. A Sigma female? She makes her own rules. She's not trying to dominate men or compete with other women. She simply exists in a space of her own, where expectations don't define her. This makes her unpredictable. People don't know how to categorize her because she doesn't fit into any of the usual labels. She's not the damsel in distress, nor is she the aggressive, power-hungry stereotype that people try to pin on independent women. She is calm, focused, and completely uninterested in anyone's opinions about how she should live her life. And that's exactly why she's a threat. When a woman refuses to be controlled, when she is unapologetically herself without the need for external validation, she forces society to confront a truth it spent years avoiding, that true power isn't loud, flashy, or attention-seeking. It's quiet, unwavering, and impossible to break. Number 2. They make men question their own strength. Men have been taught for generations that their value is measured by how much they can provide, protect, and lead. It's an identity built on being needed, on having someone depend on them for stability. But when a Sigma female enters the picture, self-sufficient, confident, and completely uninterested in playing the role of the helpless woman, that entire foundation starts to shake. She doesn't need saving. She's not waiting for a knight in shining armor to complete her life. She already has her own vision, her own plans, and the ability to execute them without seeking permission. And this creates a deep, often unspoken insecurity in certain men. If she doesn't need me for protection or provision, what exactly do I bring to the table? Some men handle this well. The ones who are truly secure in themselves see it as an opportunity to connect on a deeper level, to be valued for their character, intelligence, and emotional strength, rather than just their ability to provide. But many others? They panic. They realize that the usual power dynamics don't apply here. They can't impress her with money alone. They can't control her through emotional games. They can't keep her around by making her feel like she'd be lost without them. She's already whole, already thriving. This is where the resentment starts to creep in. Instead of seeing her as an equal, some men begin to view her as a direct challenge to their masculinity. They start labeling her as too independent, too difficult, or even intimidating. Not because she's done anything to attack them, but because her very existence forces them to question their own worth. A Sigma female doesn't belittle men, she simply refuses to shrink herself to make them feel bigger. And that in itself is enough to make the weak ones feel small. Number 3. They operate outside the matrix of social conditioning. From the moment we're born, society starts programming us: what to believe, how to behave, what's acceptable, and what isn't. Most people absorb these rules without question, following the invisible script written for them. But a Sigma female? She tosses the script aside and writes her own. She doesn't fall for the polished illusions sold by the media, where success is measured by likes, trends, and unrealistic beauty standards. She sees through the fear-based control of tradition, where people are expected to live a certain way just because that's how it's always been done. She laughs at the idea of peer pressure because, frankly, she doesn't care about fitting in. This is what makes her dangerous. She cannot be manipulated. The world thrives on keeping people in line. Corporations need consumers who feel incomplete without their products. Governments need citizens who obey without questioning. Social groups need members who conform to the unspoken rules of belonging. But the Sigma female, she lives by her own compass. She's not easily swayed by fear, guilt, or the need for external validation. Her independence doesn't just make her an outlier, it makes her a direct threat to those who rely on conformity to maintain their influence. When others see her living freely, thinking for herself, and rejecting the pressure to follow the crowd, it plants a dangerous seed in their minds. If she can do it, why can't I? And that's exactly why some people fear her. Not because she's aggressive or rebellious, but because her mere existence exposes the illusion of control that holds most people in place. A Sigma female is living proof that you don't have to obey the system. You can walk away from it entirely. Number 4. They know when to be soft, but also when to be unbreakable. Society loves putting women into neat little categories. Either you're the soft, agreeable type who bends to everyone's will, or you're the aggressive, difficult woman who constantly pushes back. But a Sigma female? She refuses to be either. Instead, she operates on a completely different level. One where she decides when to be soft and when to be unbreakable. This unpredictability terrifies people. They don't know how to handle a woman who can switch between warmth and steel without warning. One moment she's gentle, understanding, and approachable, making people think she's just like everyone else. But the second someone tries to take advantage of that kindness, she becomes an immovable force. Weak people expect emotional consistency because it makes others easier to control. They assume kindness is a permanent state, that once a woman shows it, she will always choose peace over conflict. But a Sigma female doesn't operate on blind kindness. She operates on awareness. She reads the situation, the energy, and the intentions behind people's actions. If she senses manipulation, disrespect, or an attempt to undermine her, the softness disappears instantly, replaced by a quiet, unshakable strength that leaves people stunned. This duality makes her impossible to manipulate. You can't guilt-trip her into compliance because she knows when to detach. You can't bully her into submission because she knows when to fight. She won't stay silent just to keep the peace, but she also won't engage in pointless battles. She knows exactly when to be gentle and exactly when to shut down anyone who mistakes her kindness for weakness. And that's why people view her as a threat. They can't categorize her, predict her, or mold her into something more comfortable. She is both soft and unbreakable, and that combination makes her unstoppable. Number 5. They turn every setback into a comeback, without seeking pity. Failure, heartbreak, betrayal. These are the moments that break most people. When life knocks them down, they reach for sympathy, validation, or someone to reassure them that everything will be okay. But a Sigma female doesn't need a safety net of pity. She doesn't broadcast her pain, and she doesn't look for people to feel sorry for her. Instead, she disappears, works on herself in silence, and comes back stronger than ever, without warning. This ability is unsettling to those who expect vulnerability to be loud and dramatic. People are used to seeing others crumble under pressure, vent their frustrations, or seek comfort from their surroundings. But a Sigma female? She vanishes, not out of weakness, but because she knows something most people don't. True strength is built in solitude. When she faces setbacks, she doesn't announce it to the world. She processes it, learns from it, and strategizes her next move while everyone else assumes she's down for good. Then, just when people think they've seen the last of her, she returns, more confident, more resilient, and completely unshaken. This quiet transformation leaves people stunned, especially those who expected her to fold under pressure, the ones who secretly wanted her to fail. They're left speechless, wondering how she managed to rise without their help, without their sympathy, and without their approval. But the most unsettling part, she never seeks revenge or tries to prove a point. Her comeback is never about others, it's about herself. She doesn't return to say, "Look at me now." She returns because she refuses to stay defeated, and that's why she's a threat. Because no matter how many times she's knocked down, she will always rise, quietly, powerfully, unstoppable. Number 6. They make themselves so unshakable that the world has no choice but to respect them. Most people spend their lives chasing validation, trying to be liked, trying to fit in, trying to gain approval from people who wouldn't even notice if they disappeared. But a Sigma female is wired differently. She doesn't waste time seeking acceptance because she understands a harsh truth. Power isn't given. It's taken. And the moment she decides that she doesn't need the world's permission to be strong, she becomes untouchable. This terrifies people. Society is built on control, on making people believe that their worth depends on how well they conform. But a Sigma female doesn't conform, and she doesn't beg to be recognized. Instead, she focuses on making herself so unshakable that the world has no choice but to respect her. She doesn't argue for her place at the table. She builds her own. She doesn't demand people see her value. She proves it through her actions. And most importantly, she doesn't break when challenged. Instead of reacting emotionally to criticism, doubt, or disrespect, she absorbs it, turns it into fuel, and becomes even stronger. This is what makes her a threat. People can't control someone who doesn't need their approval to exist. They can't manipulate someone who doesn't fear rejection. They can't break someone who refuses to let external forces dictate her worth. And the scariest part, even her enemies respect her. Even the people who try to tear her down can't deny her strength. They may not like her, they may never understand her, but deep down, they know she is unstoppable. Number 7. They trigger jealousy without trying. In a world where people are desperate to be seen, fighting for attention and validation, a Sigma female stands out by doing the exact opposite. She doesn't beg for the spotlight, she doesn't engage in petty competition, and she certainly doesn't waste time proving herself to anyone. And yet, she outshines those who do, all without trying. This is what makes her a magnet for jealousy. She isn't out here stealing anyone's opportunities, tearing others down, or scheming her way to the top. She simply exists in her own lane, minding her business, focused on her own goals. But the problem? Her very presence exposes the ones who try too hard. The woman who spends hours curating the perfect social media image? The Sigma female walks in with effortless confidence and outshines her without even posting. The colleague who plays office politics to climb the ladder? The Sigma female delivers results and earns respect without the games. The friend who constantly seeks external validation? The Sigma female's self-assurance makes her insecurities impossible to ignore. This is why people resent her. Not because she took something from them, but because she reminds them of what they lack. She is proof that you don't need to manipulate, beg, or perform to be valuable. And for those who've built their identity on external validation, that truth is unbearable. But here's the twist. She doesn't even notice. While others waste energy envying her, she's too busy living life on her own terms. And that, more than anything, is what makes her even more powerful. Number 8. They don't crave approval. They command it. Most people are wired to chase approval. They mold themselves to fit expectations, water down their personalities to be accepted, and seek validation like it's oxygen. But a Sigma female? She doesn't ask for approval. She commands it. Not by demanding attention, not by forcing respect, but simply by being unapologetically herself. This throws people off. The world is built on unspoken power games. Who's more liked, who's more influential, who holds the upper hand in social circles. But a Sigma female operates outside this system. She doesn't care who's watching, who's impressed, or who disapproves. She knows her worth, and because of that, others feel it too. It's not arrogance. It's not superiority. It's just an unshakable presence that silences insecurity in the room. People who rely on dominance to feel important can't figure her out. She's neither intimidated by them nor interested in competing with them. She doesn't seek validation, yet she gets more respect than those who do. And that's exactly why she's a threat. In a world where most people are either followers or power-hungry manipulators, a Sigma female disrupts the system by simply existing. She's the living proof that real influence doesn't come from seeking approval, it comes from self-mastery. Number 9. They are hard to manipulate and even harder to control. Manipulation works best on those who crave approval, fear rejection, or doubt themselves. A Sigma female has none of these weaknesses. She doesn't fall for guilt trips, emotional blackmail, or the pressure to conform because she sees through it all. And that makes her a nightmare for anyone who thrives on control. People try to manipulate her in subtle ways, through flattery, guilt, or social pressure, but they always hit a wall. She doesn't react the way they expect. She doesn't take the bait. Instead, she calmly watches as they expose their own intentions. The more someone tries to control her, the more she resists, effortlessly. This infuriates manipulators. They're used to bending people to their will, making them second-guess themselves, or using emotions as weapons. But a Sigma female? She doesn't engage, she doesn't argue, she doesn't explain herself endlessly, and she definitely doesn't let anyone dictate how she should think, feel, or behave. And here's what makes it even worse for those trying to control her. She walks away without warning. No drama, no shouting matches, no need for closure. She simply removes herself from the game altogether, leaving manipulators powerless and frustrated. That's why she's a threat, because she can't be played, she can't be controlled, and most importantly, she can't be broken. Number 10. They do not play emotional games, they dismantle them. Most people engage in emotional games without even realizing it. They use guilt to control, silence to punish, and flattery to manipulate. But a Sigma female sees right through it all, and instead of playing along, she dismantles the entire game. She doesn't respond to passive-aggressive tactics because she doesn't waste time decoding hidden messages. If someone has something to say, they can say it directly. Otherwise, she moves on. Silent treatment? She treats it like background noise, emotional guilt-tripping. She doesn't fall for it because she knows her worth isn't tied to making others comfortable. And that's what makes manipulators powerless around her. Their usual tricks, gaslighting, guilt, emotional blackmail, all fall flat. Why? Because she doesn't operate on insecurity or emotional dependency. She is too self-aware, too logical, and too focused on what actually matters. Even worse for manipulators, a Sigma female has a way of exposing their tactics without even trying. When she doesn't react, when she doesn't play along, when she holds her ground with complete clarity, the manipulator's mask starts to slip. Others begin to see the cracks, and suddenly their power crumbles. This is why she is feared. She can't be controlled, she can't be baited, and she definitely can't be emotionally manipulated. Instead of engaging in emotional games, she flips the board over and walks away, leaving the players stunned and powerless. A Sigma female is not feared because she is aggressive, loud, or forceful. She is feared because she is unshakable. She doesn't need validation to know her worth. She doesn't bend under pressure, and she refuses to be controlled. In a world where most people live for approval and follow invisible rules, she writes her own. That is what makes her a threat, not because she seeks power over others, but because she is completely immune to the games of control, manipulation, and social conditioning. She doesn't chase attention, yet she commands it. She doesn't seek approval, yet she earns respect. And she doesn't fight for a place at the table. She builds her own. People who rely on dominance, guilt, and social hierarchies feel powerless around her, not because she attacks them, but because she exposes their weakness simply by existing. They resent her because she forces them to confront their own insecurities. They envy her because she moves through life with an independence they can't comprehend. And they fear her because they cannot figure out how to break her. But here's the real truth. She doesn't care if she's feared, loved, or misunderstood. She's too busy living on her own terms, answering to no one, and creating a life that is completely, unapologetically her own. And that, more than anything, is why she will always win. If you found this insight into the world of Sigma females eye-opening, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay updated with more powerful content like this. If you liked what you read, give us a thumbs up, share this with anyone who needs to hear it, and drop a comment below letting us know your thoughts. We'd love to hear how you think Sigma females shape the world around them. Thanks for being part of this incredible journey. Let's keep disrupting the norms, one powerful truth at a time.